Sinuman mahaningyari eliyal na deva
So Neil, we went to this event together, and one of the people that spoke was someone from the Dogon tribe, and I learned a lot of interesting things about ancestors, which had a very profound influence upon me. But then that weekend after that event, you went and spent the weekend there, and the guy spoke some more. So what did you learn about this man?
So he told me so many things. One of the things that he talked about was the Dogon teachings and their understandings of the nature of the universe. Because I put the question to him, all I ever hear about the Dogon tribe is the star system Sirius and your relationship with it.
Yes.
And he laughed, because he knows the concepts that a lot of Westerners believe in, is that the Dogon tribe are visited by these extraterrestrials from Sirius and receive knowledge and information from them, and are in this relationship with them, and that the extraterrestrials actually appear on planet Earth with the Dogons. And what he was kind of saying is that it's not that anybody travels in the sense that we understand in a car or in a spacecraft or anything like that. It's all done behind the curtain, or behind the veil, as he calls it. Behind the veil, the same place you go when you cross over and die in this life.
Could that also be a similar place where one goes on a shamanic journey, do you think?
Yeah, very much so. I think
Okay.
that is what he was talking about. And he didn't have any background on me or know who I was or what I do. And he said to me, as if I was didn't understand, he was saying, there is a veil there, and when you die, you do cross over into it, and one day I'll see you there and I'll say hi. which was really quite amusing. But he also talks about a project that they have whereby you can go and spend a few months living with the Dogon and learning their ways and learning their culture and going to their sacred sites and just picking up on their knowledge. Because I think it's one thing to have him come and do a talk, it's another thing to go and live it with them and immerse yourselves in what they do and what they are. And one of the things that really surprised me was he talks a lot about the West's encroachment into their lands and into their way of life, and coming to tell them, you need to have bank accounts, for instance. Many of the Dogon Elders weren't accepted into the UK because they didn't have a bank account. And he was saying, why do we need a bank account when we provide everything we need for ourselves? We provide our own clothes, we provide our own food, our own water, we educate our children ourselves. What do we need all this stuff for? Because there is a big push for them to educate, and in terms of how we see education, their children. So the Dogon Elders sat down and discussed all this pressure, this mounting pressure to enter their children into formal education, and decided, okay, we'll do it. We're going to have to sacrifice some of our children into this to see what it's all about and to see what it is they want.
Gosh.
And to show them that we can do it, we just choose not to. So the member of the Dogon tribe that was speaking, I can't pronounce his name, but he was one of those children.
He was one of the
He was one of those
children.
So he stood before us as a chartered accountant that had gone to university
Wow.
and done all these things, just to say, we can do this. We know what your ways are. We can do this. We're not some uneducated savages like you've made us out to be. We can do all these things, but we choose to live and be in the ways of our tribe and our traditions. And he went back and rejoined the tribe, and there was an initiation and a ceremony to bring him back into the tribe. And that's the part that I found the most hopeful, that they're ready to show us, this isn't about us being savages. or being uneducated. This is about us just knowing a way that we're happy with and we want to continue living with, that's different to yours and isn't the way we want to do things.
It's really inspiring.
Yeah, but it was also very inspiring to hear that what their practice is essentially the same as our practice. My own practice is this shamanic practice. It's leaving this physical world behind and exploring the other worlds that are out there and available.
And communing with the inhabitants of that particular star system.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so.
So, Mohammed, you're speaking a little bit about the fact that the war in Mali has resulted in the destruction of evidence of the connection with the Dogon and Sirius A and B. Can you say a bit more about that, please?
Well, the information that they provide is so much, it's so far advanced that they describe there's three. There's A, B, and C, and they've got they give us the figures, the orbits and the size and things like that. So they've got an incredibly advanced piece of information about Sirius, and the worry is that that's been lost.
And you've also said that there's a possible link with this to the blood groups.
Yeah, because there's original and A and B. But I just suspect that it's something to do with the blood. Maybe that's where the origins are, in some way.
Thank you. Gosh, right. Whoa. What is this about changing the blood?
Well, originally it would have been a certain type, but if it's altered, then our blood has developed different properties. So if it affects our lives, the way we live, and things like that, we may not live to our best potential if this blood hasn't been tampered with in the distant past.
Yes, indeed. And there's this thing about particular foods are better for certain blood groups. If you know that, you're going to live longer. And there's a particular example with the Jewish race. I forget which is the predominating blood group, but there's a particular traditional way of eating food in the Jewish tradition, which is incredibly harmful for that race of people. It doesn't affect anybody else. With other blood groups, doesn't affect them at all. But I remember in my study of the blood groups realising this, and there was an example of a man that was literally dying because he refused to give up his old practices of combining certain foods together, which were actually causing him to die. So it's a fascinating subject.
Yeah. And the blood can have certain the blood can be has been made to have certain deficiencies. Sort of intrinsically deficient, and that can cause us problems. I think part of the changes that have been made in the blood is there's less copper, copper component.
Okay.
So that's a deficiency, a major deficiency that's sort of set in our being.
So you're suggesting that there's been a manipulation of our blood group or our blood culture, which means we can't hold as much copper in it as we used to.
So we don't benefit from having the sufficient amounts of copper in our blood.
Okay, right. Because
it is a very, very strong antibiotic as well, having the copper, and it works in so many ways. It's very, very important for our whole existence. It affects our at a cellular level.
Yeah, I know too much copper can cause toxicity, but also too little copper can obviously cause serious problems as well, is what you're telling me.
Everything seems to be about taking away what's already ours so it can be sold back to us.
Ah, no, you've managed to come up with yet another common theme, haven't you? Excellent. God, right.
I think excess copper though is it's not usually because of too much copper. It's just the way it interacts with other elements and components in the blood. So it can be that for example, excess iron is being given in supplement form or something like this.
Yeah.
Or there's an imbalance. High iron content can lead to high copper in the blood, so with the way it's measured. So in that way it can seem like it's too much copper, but it isn't actually a problem in itself, I don't think. Too much copper.
Okay.
It might be that it's measured as a waste product because it's not able to be utilised the way it should be.
So all I can gather from this is definitely something that people could do with researching. Thank you.
Definitely.